Trevor, a year ago we sat here and I asked you the question, the player that may surprise you in the draft, and you came back. I don't remember how I phrased it, but I remember what you said. You said that basically J.J. McCarthy controls the draft, and I'm paraphrasing, in that once the top couple of quarterbacks are off the board, the big three that went in the top four, once they are off the board, that J.J. McCarthy is the one player that people are going to try to get up and get, and that will move the day. You were right. The Vikings made their move, and now a year later, funny how that works. Is there a player today, Trevor, that you would give the same label?
I don't think, well, I wouldn't say that it's a quarterback, so it's a little bit different. It doesn't hold as much weight. I think to answer that question, though, 3 players come to mind. 2 of them are in the same bucket. One of them is a little bit of a different story. I think that whoever is going to be available at number 3 or number 4 overall between Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter, that is really what controls things, because, depending on the teams in the top 4, top 5 that have those quarterback needs, maybe we do get a Shedeur Sanders. Maybe he does pop into the top 3. And if that's the case, well, then all of a sudden New England's going to be sitting there at number 4, and they're going to have one of Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter on the board. And I think that's where the draft really begins. I think that number 5 overall pick is where the draft really begins, just because you want to figure out what's going to happen between those 2 guys. And if one of Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter happens to make it to number 4, well, then it's all wide open, especially if it is a guy like Abdul Carter, because then you're going to have teams like maybe the Chicago Bears, maybe the Carolina Panthers, depending on what the Jets think of their current pass rushing situation. I know it's more interior than it is on the edge, but you've got so many teams then at that point that would be willing to trade up for this caliber of a player. So if Abdul Carter gets to number 4, I think that's where the draft can get totally blown wide open. But I also think that Tyler Warren is sort of that player to really answer your question in the spirit in which you are asking, because he is going to be, in my opinion, viewed as a consensus top 10 player in this class from basically every single NFL team. Now, is he going to get picked in the top 10? I'm not sure, but there's a lot of, when I hear coaches, like, for example, maybe they're not using Tyler Warren's name specifically, but you listen to these coaches at NFL owners meetings and they're talking about tight ends and just how difficult it is for defensive coordinators to match up against guys that have this type of talent, how offensive coordinators and play callers love to build their entire scheme around players like this. I think that even for teams that may not have a dire tight end need, he is going to be pretty high on their board. So he, to me, is the ultimate wild card of the fact that I could see Tyler Warren going to so many different situations in the top 12, and I'm very curious at just how these teams are going to covet this type of player with where he's going to be on consensus big boards.
Talking to Trevor Sikkema here from PFF.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.